Welcome back to the show, guys. Today's guest is very special. He is my ex-boss at my corporate job. And this is pretty wild to be doing this, but no better way to do this. Now, he's a partner at KPMG. And one of the most impressive things is his leadership style and how empathetic he is. But most people never get to see who the person is behind the status or the title, a partner, right? Most people take partners for granted, but they don't see the behind the scenes, the leadership styles, their struggles. In fact, my guest today had lymphoma twice and got over it. So, Dan Resnick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Very happy to be here.
How are you feeling?
Feeling great.
Sitting with an ex-KPMG employee.
This is cool. This is fun, right? This is just like sitting around the boardroom table, but, more mics.
Yeah. So I had a question over here. If you were to introduce yourself, right, without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, your ethnicity, your hobbies, right, how would you describe yourself to me?
I would say I'm a guy who collects friends wherever I go and doesn't leave any behind, right? I just am a people guy all over the place.
Yeah, no, I love that and I can attest to it. My first and my last projects at KPMG were with you, which was, and I've
was
been
that
through.
A good thing, I hope?
It's a good thing, yeah. And I enjoyed it because some of the most interesting things that I noticed when I worked with you was, actually I have it written down over here. Your leadership style always intrigued me. You were relatively laid back in a very high performing environment. You love to trust your team members, which is something I did experience it, but at times I could see when partners were on the verge, but you knew exactly when to sort of hop on or hop off, depending on the situation. Very empathetic. You knew how to adapt to who you were speaking with, whether that's juniors, seniors at your level, senior than you. You always had a way to navigate based on people's personality. And you always kept your doors open to juniors. So for context, my first engagement, I was shaking one day when I was, I think we had a client deck review and you were just like, Satch, what do you think? I'm just sitting there thinking, I just joined. What do I know? And then you just made it easy, right? You just asked leading up questions, which was super obvious now that I think of it, but it made me feel like home. So at what point did you realize how important empathy is?
I don't know if it's something that I ever consciously realized. I think I am lucky in that it's just intuitively part of my personality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a people pleaser, for better or for worse. People always tell me that sometime I'll have to learn to be harsher and meaner.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of disregard that feedback, and I'm ready to go through life. If that's one of my flaws, I can live with it. But, I want people to feel good about themselves. I want people to enjoy what they're doing. Like one of my big mantras, I'm sure you've heard me say this, is work super hard with a big smile on your face,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if not, what's the point? We should be enjoying what we're doing. And so I think to do that, you have to make an effort to understand what's making people tick, big picture, but also day in and day out. Got to read the room. If I'm going to help you reach your potential and honestly get the best out of you for what I'm trying to deliver for a client.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that is something, how do you see that playing within your colleagues at your level, within the Big Four sort of circuit?
Listen, you get folks of all different walks, right? You have command and control partners, right? Who know exactly how they would do it when they were a junior. And so that's exactly how they want it done. And their view is they're the signature, right? They're the one who's on the line in front of the client. And so it's got to be their way. And that's okay, right? I mean, if they do it and they're total jerks about it, that's not okay, but that's not inherently a bad thing. My view is always it should be a team sport. And so everybody should have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all spectrums in between. I do find that most of my partners and or my peers generally want to have everybody at the table being an active contributor.
Mm-hmm.
There's not that many partners out there at any of the firms who want to have a team of folks in the back room, 1,000 monkeys on 1,000 typewriters. That's not really the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there must be some folks like that, but that's a pretty old school vibe. But I think you just see a lot of nuances in how people draw folks out and how folks react at crunch time when it's stressful. Because that's when it can get easy to get tense, to get frustrated, and let, I wouldn't say true colors shine through, but bad behaviors shine through. I'm not immune to that. Some people just get there a little bit quicker than I do, I think.
Interesting, because I was looking into some research about empathetic leadership, and there was this article on the catalyst.com, which says that research shows empathetic leadership is strongly linked to engagement, creativity, and people's ability to manage work-life demands. Employees with highly empathetic senior leaders report much higher creativity, 61% versus 13%, and engagement, 76% versus 32%. I sort of just took that and sat with it based on what I experienced. And when I was working under you, that was the case. That at least I felt like I have the creative autonomy to go out and do what I want to do, even though I might be completely, talking bollocks. But, but at least I tried. But then you were like, okay, here's how, maybe you could, this is a great angle, but maybe we could adapt it in a different way. Was this the case when you were starting out in consulting? How was it back then?
So, I started consulting in a pretty unique environment. So I was at a firm called Secor Consulting. It was a Canadian management consulting firm. We kind of called ourselves the McKinsey of Canada. It was started out of Montreal, so it had a very Quebecois flavor to it. But I got recruited into the Toronto office where there were 4 or 5 partners who had made a conscious decision to get out of the big 3 and big 4 life and do their own thing. So I found it to be a very supportive environment. And I think a lot about my first 12 months in consulting is very formative. The first 6, because I went to work every single day, convinced that was the day they were going to figure out that I was a fraud. I didn't know what I was talking about, right? I didn't have any skills. There was no reason for me to be there. And so I worked my face off. I had a great cohort of people around me, right? A year ahead, 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, including Katie Bola, who was one of our partners, who really helped me through that time, taught me the ropes, got my feet under me.
Katie was your senior?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Katie, I worked with Katie for my entire career. She was 2 years ahead of me.
Oh, wow.
At Secor. She's 2 years ahead of me at Queen's too. Talk about mentors and role models. She's a big one. So for the first 6 months, I was scared. For the next 6 months, I got my feet under me. And I think that folks who knew me back then would say I very quickly got a little big for my britches. So I wanted to be the one talking all the time. I was constantly challenging other people.
You are very good at challenging, yes.
Although
I attest to that.
I am now very good at challenging. Back then, I was probably good at challenging, but I was way over the top. I was challenging everything. And after my first year, the partner sat me down and they said, listen, Dan, you work so hard. You've got great energy. You're clearly very smart. You are not a fraud. You need to figure out how to blend with the team and make sure that you are a voice. You don't need to be the voice. Pick your battles. Less is more. And that was a very important message for me to hear. It was delivered in a super supportive manner. And so those 2 6 months blocks really informed my style because it made me realize that most people here, particularly when they're first starting, are pretty nervous and pretty insecure even if they are inherently very confident individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And B, consulting, really any team environment
Mm-hmm.
is a symphony. It's a team, and it only works if everybody's playing together.
Yeah.
And if you play well, you'll get lots of opportunities to solo and freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to do it within the structure. So I think that, I hope, I don't know, you tell me,
Mm-hmm.
really influences the way that I treat people, particularly folks who are just starting out their careers in this business.
Yeah. For full transparency, I didn't know what an RFP was when I joined. So there was an RFP put on it's got emailed to me saying, hey, you're going to work on this RFP. And I'm like, what is this? So my background, obviously cricket, that's all I knew. And most folks that I was working with had 2-3 years of internship experience. So at least minimum a year within sort of KPMG or Big Four boutique consulting. And I just felt I was just not ready. But I don't know if, obviously I had to step up big time, which I don't know if I did, but with yourself, I found a little bit at ease. One, because of our coffee chats, but two, because I felt like you got it, that, okay, this guy needs a little bit of time, or maybe just needs a little bit of hand-holding initially, right? Versus other experiences were more like the expectation was I knew stuff. And that's when I was like, I feel like you have been there before at some point in your life, because you did start out at some point. How is it that this doesn't transpire all the way down once you have become a senior leader? And that was a huge discrepancy I felt. But going back to what you said, you felt like you were a fraud.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Can you explain that?
I did a 4-year BCom at Queen's. I obviously had learned some hard skills. But, my first project, I had to build a pretty detailed Excel model, and I did not know how to do that.
Okay.
I was sitting there being asked to do analyses where I had to come up with numbers. And, when you're in university, you got a school project, you got to come up with a number. You can't find it anywhere. Okay. You make a smart assumption, you figure it out, and that's fine. I thought when I first started, I can't do that, right? I have to know the fact. And if I don't know the fact, it is a disaster. You know what? If you couldn't find that data point when you're in 4th year, it didn't magically get created when you're a first-year analyst in consulting. So it just took a while to get used to that. We always talked back then, and I talk about now, getting comfortable in ambiguity. And that was a really hard thing for me to overcome. That on any given project, particularly when you're doing strategy consulting, there's no paint by numbers scenario, right? We've got structure and we've got process, but half the time the client is rarely even clear on what it is that they're trying to solve, let alone the team. And so it took me quite a while to get used to knowing that I was going to go into something. I'd have a hypothesis. I'd have a pretty good idea of where I want to get to. I would be certain that there'd be a couple pivots along the way, but eventually we would get there. Really, it probably took me many years to get that last point of comfort, right? That in the end, it may take a lot of hard work. It's definitely going to take a lot of creativity. It's going to take a lot of stakeholder management, but we're going to get to where we need to get to, right? I haven't dropped a ball yet. And so I'm confident that the team and I aren't going to drop the next ball. And if you know that, it calms you down a little bit, but it took years.
Yeah, because obviously at this point, you're very good at dealing with ambiguity, which sort of me and my colleagues felt when working with you. But what would you advise people? How do you deal with ambiguity? What can you do to get better at dealing with ambiguity?
To quote the Philadelphia 76ers, trust the process.
Okay.
Right? Well, there's a reason why we have so many frameworks and so many structures, particularly in strategy consulting. If you can give yourself a roadmap on the things you need to do to gather the right information, to organize it, to think it through, to have sessions where you challenge it, I think that at least lets you know that your direction of travel is going to be good. What you learn and how that evolves your thinking is going to be a little bit different every time. But the bumpers are there, right? And if you just use those bumpers, you don't really have to worry about a gutter ball. I think the other thing is just surround yourself with great people. Like you talk about that first project. I'm really happy to hear that I helped set a good tone for you. But let's be honest, right? That was your one thing you were doing. It was one of 8 things that I'm doing. And I care just as much, but my time is very split up. And so I make sure that you're on that project with a really good manager, because I know it's a junior team, with multiple partners to give everybody the time that they need. And I create the air cover. And I know that if those conditions are in place, you'll succeed. And so to people who are just starting out, do whatever you can to find the folks who are going to invest the time and energy in helping you. And that's not the partner, the executive, the senior, whatever. It's the person 1, 2, 3 years ahead of you. That is the most important rung where you are going to have a great experience or have a challenging experience. That's what you need to evaluate.
So when I was coming in, I was told, the stereotypical motivational folks are like, get yourself a good mentor when you go in. But when you go in, everything is so fast paced and there's so much churn sometimes where you just don't know who that person would be. Obviously, it takes time, but you just never know who that person is. Or let's say you're looking for someone and boom, they're gone, moved over, right? That happened to a few folks that I know of. And then it's like, okay, what do I do then? I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, Dan, we had a chat, but then your time is so precious because you're managing multiple things. You have to win work. So how do you manage balancing? Have you seen people come up to you for mentorship to begin with? Secondly, if so, how do you incorporate that in your busy schedule?
I mean, all the time, right? I think most partners get a ton of asks for mentorship. I mean, listen, it's good business to get to know the partners, right? So pretty much every junior wants some time with me. People handle that differently. For me, as I said at the start, I'm a friend accumulator. My whole life model is kind of structured around making time for people. And so I do my best to make it work, right? And it may mean that our coffee chat's going to get pushed 3-4 times. When those scenarios happen, I make it sure that people know that I actually feel bad about that and I'm not blowing them off. And I try to be nice about that, but I kind of structure my days to make it work. It requires me to be really efficient at getting the actual work done.
Yeah.
And so my ways of working probably evolve, but people are priority. Like, I am never going to succeed in this business or any business if I'm not propped up by a team, right? I'm not a solo Lobo, not a golfer, right? Who's out there on the course by themselves. Like, I am with the team everywhere I go, any given minute. So got to make sure I always have good options for who's going to be on that team.
Fair enough. Good leaders are the ones who are trusted, right? How do you ensure trust as a leader? Because a lot of times people say you should lead by example. Now, again, given your time and how much effort you have to place in multiple pockets, how do you gain trust of your team through leading?
I think I just try to be honest and normal. Like I am Dan Resnick in every encounter, right? It is a slightly different version of Dan Resnick, I'm sure, but kind of what you see is what you get with me. And I think because I'm naturally sort of wrap my arms around people, welcoming, come in, hang out.
Yeah.
In a 30-minute meeting, even if there's a lot to get done, I'm going to be the one who's being chatty and shooting the shit and just having normal human conversations. So I think that puts people at ease with me and I think builds trust naturally. I think if you're real with people, that's kind of my version of honesty, I guess.
The reason I asked that was because ever since starting the podcast, the whole media company, etc., one thing I keep going back to is, let's say my team grows. I have an employee now. Let's say it grows. I just have one person. I need to gain trust of one.
Did a great job setting the mic up.
Oh, that is not.
Oh, that's
No,
not
no,
your
no,
one
no, no.
employee.
That's not the one. No, no, no.
Oh, he's a contractor.
No, so that he's just part of. He's the employee of my mates who own the studio.
Okay.
Yes, the agency. Mine's actually not in Canada. He's abroad. But I have one person. That's it. I just need to gain their trust,
Mhm.
right? But if I have, let's say, 20 employees all of a sudden, and I have multiple projects, so I was trying to put myself in your shoes to be like, oh, whoa, hold up. How am I supposed to gain trust of 20 people and be a good leader at the same time? Like, how do I? That's so hard because that's that people aspect. And then you have obviously the work that you got to do. And I was just, I didn't have an answer. I'm like, I don't know how to do this, which is why I asked you the question.
You know, one of the things that I try to do, I don't do this every single time because sometimes I just run out of time. But at the start of every project, actually, tell me if we did this at the start of our projects together. I don't remember.
Mhm.
I try to have a conversation with people around, okay, this is going to be a 3-month project.
Yes.
Where are you at over the next 3 months? What do you want to achieve in your career progression? What do you got going on at home? What do you got going on outside of work? How do we work around this, right? And you tell me, you know, this one is really important to me because I'm going for promotion, or I have this skill that I need to develop, or I'm joining this volleyball league. Like, I really can't be working Thursday nights. I don't want to let my volleyball team down, like whatever that is.
Mhm.
I engage with people in that conversation. I tell them what I have going on because, people need to know where I'm coming from. And so I think that really helps build the trust. And then, listen, if you're talking about going from 1 to 20, it comes back to building layers, right? You need people who are going to be around you, who others on the team can go to, and get that similar level of personal commitment and support, because they're going to have a higher volume of stuff to deal with than you are going to have hours in a day. But if they don't have somebody in your operation to talk to about that, it's going to come out in negative ways.
Yeah.
And so I always try to be conscious and avoid that.
And you did do that. Like, I remember, especially my last engagement, I had obviously I was dealing with visa issues and stuff, right? So I think that was the first thing you mentioned, what's going on? And then I mentioned, you're like, and your first reaction was, how can I help? What do you need? I haven't heard that often, which was a very interesting observation. But I want to go to leadership, right? If you were to describe your leadership philosophy, what would it be?
My leadership philosophy is to create environments where everybody has ownership over what we are doing. I do not like to tell people what to do. I like to lay out a direction of travel and then let people shape it on their own and come to me. One of the things that if I'm being a good leader, my team isn't coming to me every day being like, what are we doing today? Right? They're coming to me being like, hey, Dan, here's where we need to be in a month. Therefore, here's where I think we need to be next week. Therefore, here's what I think we should be focused on. What do you think? So I really try to empower people to drive things. Helps me because it means that I don't have to worry about what everyone's going to do every day. But I think that being that kind of leader, giving people the space, is the kind of leader that sets people up for success. I try to be an honest leader. I try to give people good feedback. To be honest, I'm not so good at that because I'm such a people pleaser. I hate giving people negative feedback. Like,
okay,
I am prone to avoiding that because I don't really love conflict. So that's probably a drawback of my leadership style. But yeah, I want the team to be empowered. I want them to feel creative. I want them to own client relationships. So maybe to encapsulate that all, my leadership style is to make sure that it's not all about me, which is ironic given the story I just told you about months 7 to 12 in consulting, where I sort of made it all about me.
Are you starting out though?
Yeah, but it was good for me to learn that nobody's going to want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah. See, you telling me that's I would never have guessed that. Like Dan's just this cocky guy coming out there. I know everything here.
Yeah.
Listen to me.
So now I'm trying to teach my 5-year-old who loves sports and is quite good at sports about confidence, not cockiness. It's tough to teach
line.
Tough to teach a 5-year-old who just wants to be like Messi and is selling all over the place, dominating these other 5-year-old kids to like tone it down a little bit.
Hockey?
Hockey, soccer, baseball. The kid is very enthusiastic.
Wow. Oh, geez. 5-year-old.
Yeah. But yeah.
That'd be a fun league to watch.
You should come. It's, it is fun, but, and you know, other parents aren't like this. And maybe this is right or maybe it's wrong, but I'm really trying to get him to like be confident, go out there, you know, score goals, but like don't be showing other kids up.
Yeah.
Like tone it down. Like be humble. That being said, you know, the Sunday morning after the Jays lost Game 7, Dad was feeling pretty down. We went to soccer. I started to give him the speech. He's like, I know, Dad, don't be cocky. And I was like, you know what, bud? Go out and score 1 million goals today, right?
Yeah.
Daddy just needs a little bit of a boost. Go get a win.
This is fascinating. So I had one of my coaches, Tom Scully. He's from Australia. So we were discussing parenting in cricket and how if you want your child to hit or become an elite athlete at some point, a lot of kids' performances, I know this is taking a different trajectory all of a sudden, but this is a good point to raise. Their performance, and I guess this could be, you can think about this in the corporate space as well as a leader, I guess. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's your child's performance, he said, varies on how you interact with them after a game. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, if I'm sitting, let's say your kid, I'm going to speak in hockey terms. So let's say he had a open goal, but missed it, for example. Absolutely tearing the shreds. Upset. And, you know, your car ride back is the one that kills it, where you're just like straight away, you're like, what happened there? Why did you miss? Was it a technical error? Was it a mind thing? Was it not a 5-year-old, let's just say a little bit older. Yeah. And all of a sudden what happens in the child's brain is, oh shit, I messed up. And I need versus. So that really screws kids' mindset up. And my coach was like, it should be more like, hey, do you want to go grab an ice cream? Let's go chill out. Give them a day or two to cool down. And then be like, hey man, what happened the other day? Like, let's talk about it a bit. Oh, okay. And then the kids, you know, he's got a cool head, understands the occasion, I guess, a little bit more, has sort of digested it himself or themselves. And that's when you go out and let it all loose a bit. I don't know if you agree with this. Does it make...
yeah. You know, listen, I spend a lot of time in youth sports, right? Outside of my very busy job, I have 3 kids, a 10-year-old daughter, and then 8 and 5-year-old boys. I coach my daughter's baseball team. Oh, yeah. I coach my daughter's baseball team.
All right.
I coached her hockey teams up until this year when she retired from hockey because she's now a competitive dancer. I got nothing to do with that. Not my world.
Retired at 10.
Yeah. Well, you know.
What?
Competitive dance is very intense.
No, I do know that.
I coach my 8-year-old's baseball team and my 8-year-old's hockey team. And I do it, because I want to make sure I'm there and being present. Because otherwise, I know me. I'd be sitting there cranking out emails. I'd be on calls. Like I just wouldn't stop working, but I have to put the phone down and pick up the clipboard. But B, because I want to make sure that my kids have a super positive experience in youth sports. I am not under the illusion that my children are going to be professional athletes. Maybe they will. And I'd happily, you know, whatever, that's cool. But for me, priority for them and for my friends' kids who are on the team and the kids I don't know on the team is like,
have a good time.
Let's have a good time. I want to make sure your parents have a good time. Like, I am the prototypical house league coach because I'm there to make sure everybody has a good time And if we get some wins, that's great. It's always more fun if we're winning. But like, I'm the first coach to yell at my kids if they're being obnoxious to the other team. Like I won't, it's probably the only thing I won't stand for. I make my buddies coach with me so that it's a good hang. And they sometimes get mad at me for not sort of doing whatever it takes to win. I want them to have fun. And so after a game, when we're driving home, the usual conversation is like, hey, what did you think about the game today? What was good? What was bad? Hey, like, take the bat off your shoulder. Like, I don't want to see you strike out swinging. Like, I don't want to see you strike out looking. You strike out swinging, I'll never get mad. Or like, hey man, like, your skating looks great, but like, maybe go for the puck sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm not hammering the kids for that. Right? I care more about their math homework than I do about what they're doing on the sports field.
Yeah.
To me, the sports is for good times, for being a good teammate, for being active, for being social. Like, if that stuff's not fun, like, seriously, what's the point?
Yeah. Is that an effort to make them play sports a lot more, or do they just naturally play just purely because we're in a digital age, right?
No, they love it.
Okay. That's good.
I mean, we could spend an hour and a half talking about the digital age aspect of it. It's very stressful as a parent. But no, I would say, don't get me wrong, my kids are gifted screen watchers. Like, you put these kids in front of an iPad and they will smoke anyone else's kid. But they love to play sports. They like to be outside. They like playing with their friends. They like doing stuff with me and my wife and with our friends. Like, I think it is a super positive environment for everybody involved. It's community building.
Yeah.
Is really what I focus on there. And they like being parts of those communities. And, if there was a day that they told me they didn't want to do it, it's cool. And they do stuff. My daughter does dance. I don't know anything about dance. My boys love karate, right? My middle guy just got his brown belt, and I don't know anything about karate. My littlest guy is obsessed with soccer. I'm not a soccer guy. But like, cool, right? These are all good, healthy, productive things to do. So let's rock and roll.
Wow. Talk to me about time management. So you're a partner at KPMG. Can you describe what that job entails? And 2, how busy it actually gets?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that you should know about me is I don't sleep a lot. I think my parents would say I was an insomniac as a kid. I would say I was just staying up late reading books and listening to Jays games on the radio. Whatever. I went through a long period of my life where I really had trouble sleeping. Now I just roll with it. But really good for time management because it means I got extra hours in the day. So the way I think about time management is I never stop working, really. But also I never stop being social and have my life outside of work. So, like, I'll wake up in the morning and think like most folks in this very strange world that we live in, I'll roll over, I'll look at my phone and I'll squint at the emails and Teams messages that came through overnight and get the ball rolling even before I get out of bed. And I find that I just throughout the day don't take a lot of dead time, right? So, I'm walking to the subway, I'm on calls. I'm on the subway, I'm either, reading decks, I'm writing emails, I'm reading a book. I, get to the office. I try to be productive all day. But also, like, a big part of being a good partner for me is being social, is networking, is, I don't even think about selling. It's just having a bunch of friends, and when they have problems, they'll come to me to help solve it. So to do that, you got to maintain friendships. So, I will be in a meeting. I'll pop out of the meeting. I will call a buddy to check in. I'll be talking to the guys who I coach the baseball team with. I'll be, chatting with my wife about whatever we got to figure out. So it's a lot of multitasking. But, my work day is, 8 o'clock to whenever. I work out for like an hour a day. Within that, I try to be as social as I can be. I do all the coaching.
Mhm.
So it's just a runaround, right?
Mhm.
So it's not easy.
Mhm.
I will say, from a time management perspective, the post-COVID world is amazing, particularly for dads in my generation.
Mhm.
And the way that work-life balance is restructured allows me to spend the time I need to in my job without sacrificing being a great father. It used to be,
Mhm.
and even for the first, my daughter was born in 2015. So say for the first 4 or 5 years of her life, you're at your desk at 9:00, which means you're out the door at 8. You're at your desk till at least 5:30.
Mm.
So you get home at 6:30.
Mm.
You get home right in the miserable part of
Mhm.
bedtime, bath time. Your partner in like the traditional societal roles has been
Mhm.
doing the hard stuff, and it sucks.
Mm.
Now, I'll walk my kids to school most days, right? So I don't get into my office until say 9:30, but I've been working in on calls. And, if I got to get a kid to hockey practice at 6:10, or if my wife has something to do, if I got a 2 to 3 o'clock window, I'll commute home and I'll take my calls for the rest of the day from home. So I still get a lot of the in-person interaction,
Mhm.
but I can come and go as I please. So I make it work.
Mm.
And then I'll do crazy things like work out for an hour at 10 o'clock at night and eat dinner way too late and watch a show and go to bed too late and promise myself the next day I won't do that.
And you do it again.
Rinse and repeat.
That is fascinating because when I see a partner, well, when I was joining KPMG, the Big Four, people had like painted it out to be this demonic place just in terms of how much work you have to do, especially as a junior, etc. And to a point, you have to be very quick with learning. It is very, very like there's a lot of pressure purely because you have clients, etc. It's not internal, it's external, and there's so much new skills you have to learn. Leadership styles, the politics involved. Fair enough. I didn't even know when 2 years went by. It feels like a blink of an eye. So then I was like, okay, how would partners feel? And I've had people like some partners who have been like, yeah, I've been here for 20 years, 25 years. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm 25. What? You've been here for as long as I've been alive. And it scared me. It scared me a lot. So that's when I started reading a lot of books, self-help, self-development, and all of them go into like this stereotypical thing of like, oh, you should do what you're passionate about and purpose and this and that. And my head just went like, how do you know what that is? What is supposed to be your purpose? What is supposed to be your passion? Or like, this one thing you want to do. And they say, oh, do what feels like play to you, but work for others. Right. And I think I've asked you this before. Do you love consult? Do you love what you do? Are you super passionate about it, or is it a means to an end?
It is not just a means to an end, right? I spend a lot of time in consulting. I love aspects of what I do. In particular, what I love about consulting is the variety of consulting. That's what I've learned over the years. I spent 3 years working at Scotiabank. It was a great experience, right? I learned what it's like to actually work inside of an organization. But during those 3 years, what I also realized is that my brain works really well when it's super fragmented, right? Every 30 minutes, different sector, different topic, different challenge. Like that really fires me up. And so consulting is a great environment for that. So I think it's really well suited for me. So from that part, I love it. There are parts that are hard. There are parts that are stressful, where I don't always love it. But I'm really not sure what career isn't that. Like when I was a kid, my dream was to play first base for the Blue Jays. Right? My dream.
Vladdy.
Right? And so I look at Vladdy
Yeah.
and say, Vladdy, like, obviously, it's pretty sweet to be Vladdy right now, right? You just went on your World Series run, $250 million in the bank. But, when Vladdy's, and, it has happened to him, right? At the start of last season, for the first 3 months of 2 seasons ago, guy couldn't hit.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's a tough run.
Didn't look like he was having fun. And even though I would assume that he is actually living his dream job and my dream job. So like nothing is easy. Right. So, I really enjoy what I do. I love aspects. Aspects drive me crazy. But, I'm 20 years into this career, and I think that's kind of the reality of what careers look like.
Yeah.
I do find it fulfilling. I really get satisfaction out of helping people solve their problems.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
I actually, now that I'm reflecting on it, think I get more satisfaction out of helping people solve their problems than out of helping corporations achieve their financial objectives.
I'm so glad you said that.
And listen, my job is to help them, right? To grow, to scale, to do deals. I'm a deals partner now. But I think
private equity, M&A.
Private equity, M&A. Yeah.
Done a couple of those.
Yeah.
Long hours.
It's a whole different beast,
It's a whole different
which
beast.
we could talk about if you would like. But I do think what helps me is that I can focus on the client, right? I understand, not just, what the corporate goal is, but just like with the team, what's this person trying to achieve, right? Do they have a boss that they're trying to impress? Are they looking to pivot in the organization, right? Like, why has this human being engaged my team, signed a contract, spent a good amount of usually someone else's money, although we do a lot of work with family businesses, so their own money. What is motivating them? Because particularly for corporate gigs, it's not just the share price, unless they've got a huge whack of equity, and then maybe it is just the share price.
The alarm bells are going in my head purely because I really struggled with meaning and impact. After cricket, when I joined KPMG, one of the things was, okay, I want to, the work that you do, the long hours that you put in, you wanted to make an impact. And I was struggling with that idea of, okay, who am I doing this for? And like, for example, one of the first clients, we devised some products for them, right? But I think they implemented 2 out of 7 or 8. But in hindsight, when I was reflecting on it, I'm like, why did I have to go through those days, those endless nights of doing that kind of work where it's just sitting in a hard drive somewhere or the deck's just somewhere in the emails just sitting, right? And they paid a shit ton of money to us. We literally got rinsed out, but it didn't, like, what's this for? So that impact side, I struggle with that every single day. I just wish I knew what you just said. So with the podcast and everything, this is the thing. I realized I want to make an impact with people's lives, or on people's lives. And the best way to do that means I need to be at the forefront of something. So if anyone listens to this conversation or my podcast or my episodes and they take something, I've had messages, people like, oh my God, I really needed to hear that. So it was 2 weeks when I started my podcast, went to cricket training one day, and one of the blokes over there was like, man, I didn't know this guy. He was like, dude, I listened to your podcast. This is one thing that you said, and I really, really needed to hear that. And I just felt this thing. I was like, whoa, I've never felt this before. This is, okay, I'm onto something. And from what I'm hearing from you now, if I knew I could translate that into the work environment a little bit more, but I don't know if, like, I guess on thinking on the spot, being a junior, you sometimes don't have that level of interaction with the client at that level, unless you're the last client we worked for, if you remember.
Yeah.
But I wish there's a way to communicate what you just said, but to juniors, because that could actually add meaning to the work they do, and not necessarily you're not just a number, but you're a part of a much wider cause. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And A lot of people talk about, consulting,
Mm.
right? You're Bay Street, you're corporate, right? Like all you care about is profits, right?
Finance,
And
bro.
helping people make more money, finance bro. I mean, I don't think anybody looks at me like a finance bro, but now I'm in deals, right? Like Canada's really
You're a
not.
certified finance bro now.
I would say Canada is not a big finance bro-y scene. If not, I wouldn't be in deals. Like think about our last client,
Mhm.
the private equity fund that we work with. Like
Mhm.
those guys are not what I would consider finance bros, right? They are
Mm.
normal people. They work at a private equity fund. They're
Yeah.
super sharp. And on that project,
Mhm.
they're trying to figure out, is this a good deal or
Mm.
not? They are stewards of other people's money.
True.
If they deploy that money well, they will also make a ton of money. If they don't, they got a huge target on their back, right? And as you get to know the people and you understand their motivations, right? I find that it helps me drive to put in the hours, to put in the time, to have the quality bar, not just because I want them to hire me again, but I actually think that they
Do
wouldn't.
good work, yeah.
I want to do good work. I take pride in what I do. And, to your comment on, your cricket buddy who said that, what you said made a big impact on him. I mean, let's be really honest. Like, it's great to make an impact on people. It's also great to hear people tell you that you made an impact on them, right? Like, I'm not a low ego guy.
No.
I know that. And, when someone says to me, this was amazing, you and your team did such great work, like, it
motivates you.
I feel personal pride and satisfaction. It is very motivating. I want that feedback.
I do.
Who doesn't?
When he told me that, I remember my heart I've never felt that before. Because usually you get praise in terms of, like in cricket was like, oh man, you played so well today, or you did this, you made us win. Okay, great. Then when someone tells you that it impacted their emotional state of mind, that's a different ball game. Whether that's, let's say, work related, in this case, what you're saying, like, okay, Dan, what you and your team did really got us out of a shithole.
Yeah.
Or made us X amount of profits or whatever. Like I'm really happy that you did this for me, and I can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
That sends these waves that you just like, okay, what's next? Let's go again, right? Versus, but then at transcending this to the junior level, I think is the critical piece. Because I know a lot of people they feel like they're a number in these big organizations because the churn's high, turnover is super high. I think 2 years is the minimum, like average time people are left at 2 years. But it's just like, in order to retain, I always wonder, I'm like, why do these bigger corporations, is it just the sheer size of it that allows them to and the reputation that allows them to just get new talent and let people go? Like, why don't they ask good employees to stay? I've always wondered that. I don't know. That's just a thought.
One thing you got me thinking about on the people side of things, I reflect on the lessons that I learned early on in my career. And one of the things that Secor did for everybody, right? Like first year, raw, freaked out, overly confident juniors, up until the most senior people, it was different. But they gave me $1,000 business development budget. And like
$1,000 BD, okay.
I'm 20 years old. $1,000 is like a fortune, right? Like, like, I was like, why would you give this to me?
That'd be like
what am I
today,
supposed to do with this? Like, what could I do? And these partners, they were so astute. They said, listen, Dan, whether you're in this business for 2 years or you're in this business for 50 years, your network is the most important thing that you can have. And don't underestimate the power that I'll have in the future or today, right? Like your friends work for a decision maker or an influencer of a decision maker, right? They can give you information. They can give you intelligence. They can give you data points. Like, do not underestimate the value of investing in your network. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, take your buddies for lunch. I'm like, I do that every day. He's like, no, but you pay. I'm like, oh, okay. And so now, as a leader in a project context, once again, I try maybe don't always get to it, at the start of a project to say, everybody's building a relationship here. So here's the senior client. I'm going to build a relationship with him or her, but we got 3 people on our team. They got 3 people on their team. Go out and build a relationship so that you're not just a number. You're not just a faceless person on a keyboard in the background. Get to know someone on the other side. The other thing that I do now with my teams is I go through an exercise with them. I just did this with my team. Ask them to go and write down a list of 5 people who they think would be good to build a relationship with. Come back to me, tell me why, and then I'll give you a budget. Go out, take them for lunch, take them for coffee, get to know them better, right? And maybe something will come of it now. Maybe something will come of it in the future. Maybe something totally left field will happen that had nothing to do with that person, but just invest in the people. Right?
Yeah.
There's no downside to that. And maybe because that gives me purpose, I think and hope that will give my teams purpose. And so I really encourage that.
I've just learned something impeccable, which is, so I understand your purpose evolves, your passions evolve over time. And I've been doing this, I just didn't realize it. How that the purpose and the passion, etc., is now, it's actually the underlying foundation of it is people. It's not what you do. That could be anything. Obviously, if you like what you're doing, that's phenomenal. And you have to like it to a certain degree to do it. But then it's the people you do it for and you do it with.
Yeah.
Huh.
That is the number one driver for me, like bar none.
Wow. No, because it puts me, that was this equation I was trying to solve in my head, and I get it now.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Well, yeah, going back to actually when we were talking about family and like time management, did work being in because a lot of people think the higher up you go, at one point things will become like you will have more access to time. Has being in such a high environment, working at such a sought after job at such a high position affected your family life, whether that's marriage or your time with your kids, etc.? Obviously, you don't have to answer it.
No, of course. Yes, certainly at points in time. Right? There have been periods in my career where I was not in great work environments, and I was not the best friend, husband, brother, son. It was all consuming for me, right? When I was over stressed. And so I won't put myself in those situations. On a day-to-day basis, I think my wife and I have a pretty good balance. She also works very hard and has a very demanding job. We do our best to trade off with each other. Are there times when the kids tell me, Daddy, put down your phone? For sure, but way more than I would like. But I think I'm pretty good at it now, at least making sure, and it goes back to coaching, that there are enough windows in time where I am available and present. It is not feasible for me to be that way all the time. And I try not to be too hard on myself for it. But, I catch enough of the beats. My mom would say that I don't call her enough. She and I would disagree on that. But
different frequencies, I'm imagining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I really do. I put a huge amount of effort into it. Like, one of the things that people always ask me is, how do you find the time to maintain all of these friendships? Because I'm also aware that I'm a bit unique like that. Like, when you do the Myers-Briggs tests, like I am the extreme extrovert. And I know that not everybody is like that. And so I'm willing to invest more time than others are. And I get a ton of joy out of that. So it makes me happy to squeeze the time in.
Yeah.
But I'm really focused on being a good husband, good dad, good
Mhm.
friend, good sibling, kid, grandkid, nephew, uncle, whatever. So I just make it work.
Where do you find time for yourself in all of this?
Between like 11:15 and 12:45 at night, now that all my friends go to sleep at normal hours. But I do joke, probably up until I turned, probably when I moved back to Toronto from grad school, I was almost never alone. Like for me, time for myself is not time by myself. Time for myself is with my wife, my kids, my friends, my family. That's where I get my energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really need the like leave me alone recharge times. In the past few years, though, fitness has increasingly become my big outlet for alone time. Like during COVID, I got really into running. I was never a runner before. Like now I sort of work out every day and I get a little edgy if I don't. So that is alone time. Although even with that, like I'll get home at 5:30. So I'm going down to the basement to work out. Like kids, come hang out with me. And I'll be sitting there like sweaty and gross on the Peloton and my kids will be bopping around the basement. And so even then, I like to think I'm spending quality time with them while I'm taking care of myself.
Interesting. There's one of my guests, Zara Jetley. She plays professional cricket, aspires to play for New Zealand. She's from New Zealand, but she plays like domestically, like Blue Jays equivalent in New Zealand.
No big deal.
And she's going hell for leather. So when I spoke to her, obviously I understand cricket and like everything involved in it. And I was like, what does a day look like? She gave me this 5 a.m. to midnight kind of a thing. And I was like, whoa. And everything's training, this, whatever. I was like, whoa, that's a lot. Then I asked her, where'd you find time for yourself? And her answer just shocked me. She goes, the entire day is me time. And I was like, whoa. Perspective, that's it.
Yeah.
And at work, at KPMG or like in corporate, I struggle with that. But with the podcasting space, or ever since I've started this, it is my thing. But I feel like it now. But I just wish I would have realized it sooner because I would have been more efficient and my output would have been a lot better.
Dude, you're 25?
6. I know.
26?
Turning 27 next month.
Oh, I apologize for aging you up. Sorry. You're 19. You're doing pretty good, right? It took me a lot longer to find it. But as I think about, what she said, there are very few parts of my day that I don't enjoy, right? Like I can have hard meetings or hard conversations, but yeah, like if I think about my day to day, I had a really busy day, but I didn't have any bad moments in my day. Like it was all good, nice, pleasant, engaging stuff, So yeah, it is a little bit me. Like you, I guess you hope to get to a point in your life where you've put yourself in a position to spend time doing maybe not what you love every minute of your day, but stuff that you like every minute, and then a good chunk of time of stuff that you love. So, yeah.
So, you've had cancer twice.
I have.
Lymphoma twice. I was looking at this. There's a reason. Oh, we'll get to the research later. But like, take me to that moment when you found out and you were told the words, you have cancer. How did you feel in that moment?
First time or second time? Two very different feelings.
First time. Let's go first time.
So first time, I was 29. I was married. I did not have kids. And I was invincible. I'm at the tail end of my invincibility stage, but still invincible. It was a strange thing. So my wife's oldest sister had lymphoma when she was in high school. Her youngest sister had lymphoma like a year and a half earlier. And I felt a little lump in my neck, went to the doctor because it was kind of top of mind in the family. The doctor was like, no, you probably just have a cold and you got swollen limbs. Like, no big deal. 3 months later, I go back and I say, it's still here. So we ran a bunch of tests. And then my wife and I took off on a 2-week road trip. We got the call that the diagnosis was cancer just as we were driving through northern New England, about to go to a buddy's cottage in Maine where we were going to be off the grid for a couple days. So we got this news. I think we both sort of knew what was coming. Like, my wife works in healthcare. She worked at Princess Margaret at the time, so cancer was kind of her world. So we were prepared for it. And when I first got the diagnosis, I felt confident, right? I said, okay, I've got lymphoma. Like, I just watched my sister-in-law go through this. I understand how challenging it is, but I understand that the most likely scenario is, like, she came out stronger. I'm going to come out stronger. I've got this great support network. I'm invincible. I can handle this. And then my next reaction, so then we went to my buddy's cottage in Maine. I had a couple days to decompress. Obviously, I called my parents. We came out of the woods, and I spent the next 3 days calling everybody I knew to let them know, because I wanted them to hear from me. So they wouldn't hear that I'm fine, that they don't need to worry, that it's all going to be okay. So, like, that first time, like, it was a pretty crazy mindset that I was able to take into that, of just like, got this, it's going to be fine. Like, let's just go, let's do the treatment, let's get it over with.
I just feel like that's a Dan Resnick response. I was not expecting that, but it says something about how you view, or most people at that point would have skewed heavily towards emotions. And I've dealt with this concept for a long time. It's, emotions are great, but you got to be more rational than emotional in the long run to have good outcomes. Because if you don't control your emotions, you go down that spiral, it's very hard to get out of it. I've never had cancer, and touch wood, hopefully. But in other aspects of my life, like living alone for 10 years and whatnot, like, you can't even compare this, by the way, but I'm just saying, people go through loneliness, etc., and they just like, well, I'm never going to get a girl, for example, or whatever, right? They just crash. I'm never going to get a job offer. I'm never going to progress, etc. And just in those things, people lose their minds. Here we're talking about cancer, and you had this positive outlook on it. Like, how do you think where does that come from? That mindset, is that something your maybe parents did, or maybe you just had it? You read a book maybe at some point. Like, what was it?
I don't read books like that. I read a lot. I only read fiction. I read books for pleasure.
Interesting.
I mean, I think I attribute a lot of it to my parents, to my upbringing, right? I mean, I imagine this is the case for most people, but I see almost every one of my traits in either my mother or my father. At least all my good traits. I don't blame them for the bad traits. I just always sort of had a positive outlook on life. Now, I don't want to give the wrong impression, right? I was super positive during that period, and I had great care, I had great treatment, I rocked it, right? And like, no problem. But there was a price to pay, right? I didn't really let myself process any of that. And about 2 years later, all of the parts of being diagnosed with cancer and then going through chemo and radiation really hit me. So, I started having panic attacks. I started having anxiety, right? We were starting to talk about having a family. Every time I'd get a cold, right, I'd be like,
PTSD.
Total PTSD. That is the only term that I ever think of to describe it. And it's not like, folks are experiencing war or violent trauma, right? So I don't want to overequate it to that, but it is the closest equivalent to how I felt. And for somebody who was so intensely, militantly, some would say obnoxiously positive, that was a really hard period. for me. I got help, right? I started seeing a psychosocial oncologist at Princess Margaret.
Psychosocial oncologist.
It's a therapist who specializes in people who've gone through cancer. It's an amazing program at Princess Margaret. Actually, a program that my wife was part of a team that helped develop. So I was lucky to be aware of it. And
funny how life plays out.
It worked well. My wife was like, dude, like, you need to go talk to somebody. And that helped. I don't know that I ever really got out of my head. After 5 years post-cancer, they said, you're good, man. Like, nothing to worry about. You're now fully like in remission, cancer-free. Your odds of getting cancer again are the same as any other person on the street. And so I was able to quiet those thoughts in my mind until 5 years later when it came back. And that was...
Would it be in the same spot or like same thing or
no,
different?
So that I got lucky that time too. So actually, ironically, so lymphoma is a very unlikely cancer to recur. My sister-in-law, my wife's younger sister, who had it right before me, it came back for her. She once again had to go through it. I once again watched her go through this experience, this time as a mom with 2 young daughters.
Oh, God.
Very challenging. Once again, she rocked it.
Yeah.
And then a couple months later, the world had just opened up from COVID. It was April. The Jays were back in town. I went to 4 Jays games in a week. I was so excited. Got a cough because, hadn't been around humans in a couple years. And all of a sudden I'm at the full Sky Dome. Cough lingers for a couple weeks. Call my doctor. He said, I don't have COVID. I don't know. I hear there's pneumonia going on. He's like, yeah, maybe there's some pneumonia. Like, go get an x-ray. I go to get the x-ray, not thinking anything of it. Doctor calls me and he says, Dan, there's a spot on your lung. And I lost it. So I've got I don't know, how old were the kids? Like a 7-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old son, a baby. We were in the middle of a reno. I had just finished negotiating a mortgage, aka I'd taken on a huge pile of debt. And all of a sudden I hear this news, right? And they didn't say your lymphoma's back. They said spot on your lung. And I freaked out, right? I was like, how could this happen? What did I do? How is this my fault? I got very dark very quickly. Went for more tests. Turned out it wasn't a spot in my lung. It was just a spot behind my lung. The lymphoma was back, but it was all under my clavicle. So had I not gone to the dome and gotten a cough and gone for an x-ray, it would have kept spreading, right? And so I don't know when I would have caught it. Once I got that information, in this same time period, my grandmother passed away, who I was very, very close with, and we're Jewish, so we have a Shiva. So imagine you've got a family Shiva. It's just after COVID, so people are super paranoid of being around with other people. My wife obviously knew what was going on, was like, I'm not telling anybody else, right? My family is devastated. My bubby's passed away. So I, went to, I'm like in the hospital, getting like a scope put down my lungs to scrape out samples. Then I'm going to my bubby's Shiva house and I'm like coughing. So people think that I've got COVID and I'm infecting them. I don't want to tell them, no, I just had a bayonet shoved down my throat. And so that was a very hard time. My initial plan was not to tell anybody. My wife was like, you're crazy. Like, you have to. And like, you just have to. So obviously I told my family. And then I did the thing where I called everybody I knew and I told them again because I wanted them to hear from me. And then I got back in the mindset of being really positive and knowing I was going to be okay, but also knowing that I couldn't just pretend like all the scary negative thoughts weren't going to happen again. So I sign the therapist up right off the bat. But,
Mm-hmm.
once again, just try to stay really positive. Let's go. Let's get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And so got through it for a
Mhm.
second time. I'm very, very lucky that way.
And did the kids know?
The kids knew. We debated whether to tell them or not. We actually worked with a amazing nonprofit called High Lifeline, and their mandate is to really help families where one member of the family is going through a difficult health period. So we asked them sort of what their advice. They've seen this a lot, and they said, "Listen, you're going to try not to tell your kids what's going to happen, right? Like, you're going to be talking about us all the time, and then you're going to walk into the room and you're just going to be quiet. They're going to know something is up." So they coached us a lot. And so we told them, and they were such an amazing source of strength for me, right? They were motivating. My hair started falling out very quickly the second time around. And I've got a real Samson complex about my hair. Like I used to have like
flow. I've seen some pics.
Wicked flow. And so the hair loss was a big thing for me. And this time around, my hair fell out and my beard fell out, which is unusual. So my buddy came over to shave my head for me, and I had the kids help. I made them a part of it, and really just reinforced to them that I was going to be fine. And I didn't miss a thing, right? There was no time to wallow in the basement and cry because I'd go from chemo to coaching a kid's baseball game because I wasn't going to miss it. And, my friends and my wife would be like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "What am I going to do? Sit at home and cry? Like, this is where I want to be." Like, I feel better when I'm here. I kept working because downtime isn't my vibe. And so I just made it my own. And I was lucky enough to be able to tailor it to the way that I wanted to do it. And most people who are going through cancer, who are dealing with much more serious life-threatening situations, are not able to do that. So I feel very blessed that notwithstanding having to go through that, it was the kind of cancer, and we have access in Toronto to the kind of facilities where I was able to manage through it well.
And you said, obviously you're Jewish, you said, right?
Yep.
How important was faith in all of this? Or was it?
I'd say community
okay.
was very important.
Gotcha.
In all of this, right? And being Jewish is a big part of my community. I sit on the board of UJA, which is one of the biggest not-for-profits in the country, religious or not. And the folks there were really amazing and a huge support for my family. That's one of my many communities. And so that's a big part of it for me. Was I going to shul more? Like, no, it's not really my version of faith and religion, but community and culture, I think, is a big part of what allows me to be the way that I am. And certainly my Jewish background and heritage is an inextricable part of that.
It's interesting because my mom's a hypnotherapist now. She used to be an anesthesiologist. So she did a
that's
flip.
A swing.
That's a big swing. But
same end game, right?
Yeah, but she was no, so it's not hypnosis of like gone. It's more so you're awake. There's a huge misconception of what hypnosis is. It's not like you watch Now You See Me and he just goes, it's not one of those. So it's about healing your energy sort of thing. And my mom told me about this, like the amount of time she's met people who've had, let's say, cancer or diseases. You look at people like Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've heard his name.
Nope.
He's like the world's, I think, most renowned hypnotherapist.
Okay.
And a lot of his clients as well that come have cancer, etc. So it's a lot to do. The first place to start is your mind, is what they say. If you can have that positive outlook in that tough situation, I guess it's not just pertinent to cancer, but any tough aspect of life, that phase you're going through, I guess. If you are positive and optimistic, energy, call it neurochemicals, whatever, your body just takes all the good stuff and helps you, I don't know, not necessarily get rid of it, but diminish it as much as possible. and that's in everything that I've experienced, where I've just been like, okay, this is a shitty situation, but I'm going to just be positive and like figure this out, and good things happen at the end of it. So it's crazy how your mind dictates during life-threatening situations where that's going to go. You could have easily gone the other way, and that just because why do people get heart attacks a lot of times? Like we were discussing just off camera, chronic stress a lot of times. It's nothing to do with how fit you are, what you do. If you're stressed, you're stressed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you weren't stressed,
and listen, stress is, I think, a part of life, right? Particularly in the socio and economic culture that at least I live in, right? Like to say that my job isn't stressful, to say that my home life isn't stressful, that would be a total lie, right? Like I deal with stress all day, every day. I try not to let it define me. And I think I'm just sort of blessed. Like people talk about like having resting bitch face. Like I've got resting smiley face. Like that is just my natural God or family given state of being. And so I know that even in my dark moments, I'm going to regress back to positivity. And certainly I'm focused on projecting that outwardly into the world, right? I try not to let people see when things are getting me down. And 95% of the time it's genuine, and 5% of the time I'm faking it. But, that's how it goes.
But you said you worked during that time.
Yep.
Did you view work differently at that point? Or did other people view you, like your colleagues viewed you differently at that point?
My colleagues viewed me differently. They were very protective of me, my colleagues and my clients. It's funny if you think about the two different worlds that we lived in. So first time I had cancer, I wanted to keep working. And the deal that I made with my wife and my mom and my doctors was, fine, you can keep working. You just can't ride the subway anymore, right? But otherwise, it's okay. I actually had a partner who gave me his parking pass.
Because you would have been...
I was at KPMG the first both times I had cancer.
Senior manager at that point?
I was a senior manager.
Senior manager, okay.
At KPMG.
That's a tough role.
It's a tough role.
Yeah.
Probably the toughest. Yeah. But I was like, I'm going to the office every day. Like, nobody's wearing masks. Like, what are you talking about? They're like, just don't go on the subway. Second time around, post-COVID, different world that we're living in. When I told people I wanted to keep working, folks who knew me well were not surprised. Folks who didn't know me that well were like, Dan, like, you don't have to work. And like, to be clear, like, we will pay you. Like, we love you. We're worried for you. Take the time off work. Focus on yourself. Like, this will have zero impact on you financially or on your career. And they meant it, right? And I could have gone on disability for 3 months. I still would have made partner. Honestly, it wouldn't have changed a thing. But I know how I am. I know that I need to be mentally engaged. I need to be socially engaged. And so the team said, okay, Dan, you can keep working, but no new clients, and you cannot be accountable for any deliverables. So shape the thinking, be on the calls, be a part of it, but like,
don't take heavy
when it comes time to turn a deck, that ain't you. And it was great. And, I would get texts from my clients being like, hey, Dan, see you're on the call. I had one client be like, Dan, I know you're at chemo right now. Why are you emailing me? Right. And like in a really nice way. Right. So people were really looking out for me. And I'm so grateful and appreciative of that. Right. People gave me the space to do it in the way that worked for me. And it helped me to not have anxiety about my career. Like, well, I intuitively know that it wouldn't have set me back. My anxiety would have said, oh, Dan, like you're going to fall behind and you're going to lose 2 months out of your 60-year career. Like, whoa. And so I didn't have to deal with any of that.
Wow.
So there are many pros and cons to being in large bureaucratic organizations, consulting or otherwise. But tell you what, those places are great places to be when you're going through a tough time. They are structured to support you. At least that was my experience. And I certainly hope that is the experience that my friends and peers and colleagues have.
There's this concept I was looking when I was researching cancer, etc. It's called the post-traumatic growth. So there's this research on the National Library of Medicine, which says that research on cancer survivors shows something called a post-traumatic growth. Positive psychological changes after trauma, including stronger relationships, new life priorities, and deeper appreciation of life. Do you think when that happened and you came over it, you just had this jolt of like, let's go?
I think for me, less so because I never really got off that track, right? I kept all balls.
You're kind of there
forward.
already.
You know, I didn't let myself lose too much momentum. So for me, it was kind of just part of the journey. Now, another important nuance, and what's interesting in your definition, you talked about cancer survivors. I actually don't think of myself as a cancer survivor because I never felt like my life was in danger. And so for me to call myself a survivor, I think undermines the vast majority of folks whose life is truly in danger. When I say this to some people, they get frustrated and they say, Dan, you're minimizing it. You're minimizing your own experience. But other than that couple-day period where they told me that there was a shadow on my lung, I never for a second thought that I was going to die, that I wasn't going to recover. And it wasn't a likely scenario. That wasn't like faking it. The kind of lymphoma that I had is a very well understood and very curable cancer. So it's easier to have a positive attitude and to not lose momentum when your prognosis is very good. I don't know how I would have reacted if the situation was different. And I hope I never find out.
I hope so too.
I mean, the day will come one day, but hopefully that's, when I'm 145 through the, marvels of modern medicine, and then I'll just upload myself into an AI and there you go.
All right, let's change gears. This is something I really want to talk about is the younger generation in the workplace and how partners or people at higher management view them. Because you would have been of our age at one point, and then you went through this phase, right? So I was looking at one of our, not my hour anymore, I guess, but
still
one of the big fours, they have this survey, okay, where they sort of looked at work-life balance and purpose within Gen Z in particular and millennials. So the survey said that work-life balance and purpose outrank reaching leadership positions in today's society. Only about 6% of Gen Z say their primary goal is to reach the top, in this case, partner level, and that learning and development is a top 3 reason they choose an employer. And I kind of just went down this rabbit hole of, other research shows that 86 to 89% of Gen Z want purpose-driven work and value alignment. But then that got me thinking, I'm like, we are so career fluid now. But we don't even stay in one place. Every now, we're just thinking about what's next. Okay, I'm going to be here. Even before joining, people would be like, okay, I'm going to be here for X years and then move on. So I was like, okay, I need to understand what people who are super experienced at a higher level, what do they think about my generation? So what do you think of our generation in the workplace right now and when you compare it to yours? As in when you were in our stage.
It's definitely very different. The point about shifting prioritization of work-life balance versus professional aspiration
Mm-hmm.
is a very real thing right now. I'd say people of my generation struggle to figure out how to motivate folks in your generation. Very broad generalization,
Yeah.
obviously. And I won't speak for others, but I am experiencing this isn't how it was done in my day vibe much earlier
Okay.
than I thought I would in life, right? Like I thought, I'd hit my crotchety phase once I was a gray hair. I guess you could see I'm maybe a little more gray hair than I think
Still
I
got
am
the
anyways.
flow.
Appreciate you saying that. But it is hard, and we talk about it a lot. When I was just starting out, I was working 16-hour days, and there was nothing special about that. Everybody was doing it. That was the thing to do. And frankly, our business model was that, right? Like sell somebody 8 hours a day, work 16 hours a day, deliver amazing. Now, folks don't think that that's what they've signed up for. Whereas that is what I felt like I had signed up for. Like this company is paying me this money. This client is paying this company even more money. I feel this obligation. And that isn't to say that I think that our junior cohorts now don't feel that same sense of ownership and obligation. I think they do, right? Like the people who I work with are all smart, ambitious, motivated people, but it has a stop and a start to it that I don't know that I saw back then. And so for me, that has certainly pushed me to change my behaviors and to model different things, knowing that my audience is different. I think it's a source of frustration for a lot of senior partners who, started at the bottom of the pyramid and had to grind their way up and now see juniors, some of whom don't feel the same obligation to grind and drive. And that makes a partner's life a little bit harder. So I think the model is evolving and adapting, but there's certainly generational tension and conflict in the workforce right now. Now, what I don't know is, do the folks who are 20 years older than I am,
what do they think? Yeah.
what do they? And
that's interesting.
And did they have the same experience with me?
Yep.
Right? Like, is this just another version of, the hippies and their parents who were squares? Maybe this is just the story of how human generations evolve. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess there's this whole element of the rise in mindfulness, mental health awareness, etc. That's definitely playing a part, and that the newer generation in this case feels there's so much out there that dictates their behavior, whether they see social media, obviously. When I signed up, I was told high performance, got to go. I'm like, yep, cricket, high performance, done it. And coming back to what we spoke about initially, of like the impact side, that is where I'm going to speak from my experience here. So partner, consultant, talking about this issue, this crisis, right? I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm just speaking for me. I understand that partners went through this. You guys really went through it when you started out, etc. But I read this quote that really changed my mind. And that's where I started getting frustrated with how big organizations, not KPMG, not pinpointing anyone, but large bureaucratic organizations work. The quote is, most people die at the age of 22, but get buried at the age of 77. Okay?
It's dark.
That hit me so hard because I remember I was sitting customer corner with a few teammates, and I legit that day couldn't work properly because I was just thinking about, like, what am I doing? Like, this is great, but I was missing that impact piece.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, what am I doing this for? And one of the reasons I wanted to join a big organization was to understand how an organization is run from the business side of things. How do they make money? What's the revenue distribution? Where does it go? How do partners make money? What does it mean to be a partner? So that's why I wanted to join, with the idea that if and when I do have my own corporation, say, or company, I'll understand the business side of things a little bit more, the political side as well. So and what really got to me was, okay, a client's being, as a consultant, I'm being billed, let's say $300, $400. I take home $40 of that. The math wasn't mathing in my head. I'm like, okay, I know I'm a junior, and I've gone balls to the wall to get this job. But that sense of value and that sense of, I understand I have to live my life and like perform and get this done, but I also need to have a life. I'm never going to be in my 20s again. This is my time to try things and travel, but here I am, 2 years in a flash, gone. And then by the time my mom's like, hey, have you found a girl yet? Time to settle down, mate. Hold up. I haven't lived life. Where did my 20s go all of a sudden? I still feel like I'm 19. That's 8 years ago almost.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, where you are. But that was, and I definitely know this for a fact that other people, other juniors at least, or people in my generation feel that way. But they don't know what to do about it, which is why their output gets affected. And hence, in their personal lives, I'm not speaking for anyone, but I think in their personal lives, this is what happens. They just spiral down and they spiral out of control. Hence, you see weird behaviors at work and you're like, is this guy okay? Is she okay? Etc. Are they okay? So that's where, as a generation, I think we have too many options, where we become super overwhelmed, where we don't know what we want to do. We don't know what we need to do. And then what we're doing, we don't know how to do it anymore.
So I'll ask you a question,
Yeah.
right? From the older generation, it pains me to say that.
No.
Like one of our perceptions is that so much of this is driven by a shift in social interaction because of social media, right? And I spend most of my time thinking about this in the context of kids and teenagers, because I've got kids who are going to become teenagers and I'm horrified about it. But how does that play out for you in your 20s? Because interestingly, when I reflect on my 20s, what a great time in my life, right? Like I had a good job. I was learning a lot. I was making good money. I was going out Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, occasional Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Working hard. I had a girlfriend. I had a ton of friends. I would take time off. I traveled a ton. I got married in my 20s. Like, I did a ton.
Yep.
But I was out there. What's keeping you as a almost 27-year-old from feeling like you're being out there? Like, does your social dynamic look and feel like it was for me when I was in my 20s?
No. And I'll tell you why. There are three main factors. One, you touched on, you were making good money back then as a junior. Salaries haven't been adjusted for in a long time. A 4% increase every year, it does not fit the bill, especially in my case, living alone, single Toronto. At the end of the year, you would save pennies, if even. So if you're making between 70 to 80 grand as a junior consultant, which is very good money on paper. I looked into this. So McKinsey used to pay, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but McKinsey for an associate or junior consult analyst, I think that's what they call it, 12 years ago were paying, I think it was 105,000. Might be wrong. But now that number is 111, 112. But let's talk inflation then. Let's talk rents. How is that okay, not unfair, Terry, but how is that justifiable? And then as someone who's starting out, now a lot of things do not get expensed as well at work. But my assumption is, because consulting used to be just this travel model, right? a lot of things would get expensed. So you'd save a little bit more. Let's just say
Maybe.
a little bit.
You could have expensed the same things on projects with me
Yeah.
that I expensed back then.
Yeah.
I was expensing foot-long Subway subs
Fair enough.
and
Yeah.
felt like a king.
Yeah.
Give me that double steak.
Yeah.
I'm a hero.
So money it's tough for people now, especially let's say you somehow figured out to get a mortgage. You're strapped up, baby. You ain't going nowhere. Money's one. It's very tough.
Mm-hmm.
The second is expectations. So right with money though, I feel like I wasn't, when I looked at it and I looked at making, let's say $35 to $40 an hour, and I'm just like, is this really what I'm worth? Like I'm giving it and I gave my everything. Obviously I had personal stuff. Everyone has personal, but I gave it my all. But I feel like there's this number that's associated with you. And then obviously I read some stuff like, you should know your time value of money and you should know your worth and all of that. Anyway, the self-motivation shit.
Mm-hmm.
So money's one. Expectations. Our generation expect too much of ourselves sometimes. Like I need to, because everyone it's so competitive now. And I'm sure it was competitive back then. 100%.
Well, but like my perception on that point is that everybody thinks that they should have already started a startup and flipped it for $10 million. And if you haven't done that,
that's
you're
because of social
sucker.
media. So in our 20s now, there's this perception that you need to. There are 21-year-old millionaires online, right? They probably did some trading or whatever.
Crypto bros
driving Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
Now, I could just sit here, be a saint, be like, of course it doesn't affect me. But it did at one point. It did. And you look at other people, let's say they get promoted. There's a lot more selfishness in our generation. And I'll say it out loud. I hate that. I don't like it because everyone's fending for themselves. The camaraderie aspect that you say, I sometimes feel like people are just trying to make it work for them because it is a struggle. We have a lot of options. We feel like it that overwhelm us, but it is but at the same time, the compensation, those kind of things really affect. And the self-expectations are like, oh, I'm 27. Oh, I should have had something by now where let's say I was already supporting my parents' retirement. And then you just sit there thinking, I'm making $35 an hour. Let's do some quick maths here. My parents are not going to be around when I'm 60, 70 probably, are they? Okay, now what do I do? Oh, shit. Go down. Expectations is the big one. And then the third one is just, our generation is just fucked up. I'm so sorry. I don't get my generation. I find it really hard to fit in sometimes. I just don't get it. Right? Talk about anything from hookup culture and stuff. Like I know it used to be. It's been around for ages. I get it. But
it's not how we roll.
But to the whole dating point you're saying, dating in Toronto right now is ridiculous. And it's not just Toronto. It's everywhere. Everything is, just want to have fun, satisfy your pleasures, and hey, ciao. It was good knowing you, and then you just move on.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand that when you do these hookup things, feelings do get involved.
Right.
It doesn't take a genius, but they feel like they're geniuses at that point. Oh, we're going to make this work. It's fine. Nah, mate. It's going to come and bite you in your ass. So we don't think that much, or if we do, we overdo. We overthink stuff. So there's this culmination of financial aspects, expectations that you have, and like not knowing yourself. And then obviously I feel like the self-purpose and like, find your purpose, find you are, all of that is great, but too much of it makes you even more lost than you actually began. So there's so much happening where we are the most lost generation that ever was, even though we have everything at our fingertips. And that makes us really messed up. And hence, it affects in work environments where people are like, oh, I should be a KPMG one way, but maybe I should be industry. Maybe. But even then, you'll see a lot of people talk about potentially leaving. Mm-hmm. But how many of them actually do? Not a lot.
One of the things that I do to combat at least that last point around am I doing the right thing or not is every 2 years, I treat as an explicit inflection point in my career, right? Am I going to keep doing what I'm doing? What else is out there? All right, let's look at what my options, and then let's make a call. And if I reflect back on the trajectory of my career, 80% of the time, my decision is no. I'm going to stay where I am. Like, this is good, and I've looked at my options, and I'm happy with this. But it's an explicit decision. I try not to let it be, just sort of apathetic momentum situation. So I at least feel like I'm always in control of what I'm doing within reason. So when I do talk to folks who are coming up, I give them the same advice. And I'm not one of those partners who is upset or offended if somebody tells me they're leaving, right? Every single time my reaction is, oh, I'm sad for me, but I assume you're about to tell me where you're going and it's something awesome and exciting. And so I'm happy for you. Tell me about it. Not everybody is that way, but I'm in management consulting, right? I've been in this industry for 20 years. I've got 7 different generations of consulting friends, right? It is inherently a transient industry. So I always encourage people, like, think about where you want to be 2 years from now. Maybe it's here, maybe it's not, but talk about it, think about it, plan for it, know your options. And most of the time, you'll probably look around and say, you know what? This is actually a pretty sweet option.
Yeah.
And it, I think, helps to probably not eliminate some of those internal and external voices, but quiet them and make them easier to manage.
Yeah, it's fascinating because obviously you look at, if you've watched Wolf of Wall Street, right? You see investment banking, like people have to resort to drugs and stuff just to be functioning at that level. I don't know if that happens in consulting. I hope not.
Not in these.
Not that I can. I didn't come across.
Not in the. It's not the 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have
no quaaludes in consulting.
I've heard though, still in investment banking, that is the case. Still, through friend of friends, etc., it goes around that because that's the only way they function. That's the only way they will be able to do or perform at that level.
I think that's just people who probably like to do coke, and they're using it as an excuse.
Really?
I will say, I don't see.
His work hours are pretty long. Yeah. If you were 16 hours a day, okay, 5 days a week, when the weekend comes. So over here, one thing in Canada I don't understand is the vacation days. 15 days, in my opinion, is nothing. In England, it's at minimum 25. When I was at KPMG taking 15 days, like it felt like nothing because you need at least a week to just sleep and recover. Then let's say people would be like my mates in England or India, Australia, and like, hey, why don't you come on? I'm like, I got like 10 days. Don't know what I'll really do in 10 days, traveling that far and whatnot. So it's just that perform. And obviously you, in this generation, it's more like, oh, okay, till when? I could be doing so much more. I have so many options. And then it kind of just, you just like, yeah, that's why the career fluidity is a thing now. But yeah, to that point though, I was looking at the career switches and like what people chase in our generation, at least. So it's money, meaning, and being and well-being intersect to form the foundation of happiness at work for our generation. And then it says that career fluidity is a defining feature of modern workforce. Nearly 1/3 of Gen Zs plan to switch employers in the next 2 years. And while millennials may be more settled into their careers, 17% still say that they plan to leave their employer within 2 years. Their job hopping isn't driven by a lack of loyalty. Many Gen Zs and millennials see it as a strategy to seek stability. Why? Because of the compensation for better work-life balance, a greater sense of purpose, and an opportunity to learn and acquire new skills. When asked about their career goals and the factors that cause them to change careers or employers, the answers can be boiled down to 3 key areas: money, meaning, and well-being. So balancing these 3 things sets the foundation for overall happiness among Gen Zs and millennials, so to say. And for employers, it may hold the key to attracting talent, reducing turnover, and increasing engagement. What do you reckon?
You know, if you'd asked me when I was 25 what the 3 things are that motivated me, I probably would have said money, purpose, well-being, the whole people shtick is in there, but probably not even in that order. Because it wouldn't seem cool to say that I was motivated by money solely, even though in my head I'm sure I was. So I honestly, I don't know that it's that different. You know, if you replaced switching jobs in 3 to 4 years versus 2 years, I don't know that that's different than my lived experience or than the experience that, you know, my very broad network of peers had. I think it's, at least it seems to me like just feeling okay about that versus not feeling okay about that because of a different kind of social pressure. And by the way, I feel a ton of social pressure, right? It's different when you're 42, but you know, keeping up with the Joneses is a thing that doesn't go away, right? And when you have kids, it exacerbates a little bit. Like, just look into the world of like semi-competitive youth hockey, and you will get a eye-opening dose,
like OHL
of what that. No. Like 10-year-old select hockey. Forget about OHL.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, that I think is a human condition. I actually think the culture of entrepreneurship is an amazing thing these days. Like, when I was coming out of Queens, the thing that was drilled into us is if you're not in marketing, banking, accounting, or consulting, you're destined for a lifetime of failure and poverty, right? And so everything funnels you into that corporate world. Now, obviously, it's a totally different ballgame. I also now, as a father, fast forward 10, 15 years from now, I worry about what the job market looks like for my kids. I worry about what going to university looks like for my kids, right? And so I actually talk to them a lot about entrepreneurship because to me, that is plan B, if not plan A, right? Like if nobody else is going to give you an opportunity, how do you learn to take that for yourself? And that is not something that I grew up with, which is interesting because actually my father was an entrepreneur and ran a business his whole life. We didn't really get that when we were kids. But now I want that for my kids, or at least want to make sure
it's an option.
They could do it so that they don't end up with no options, which is what I'm really worried about.
The one of the biggest reasons of this entrepreneurship boom is the cost of living and how salaries haven't adjusted for the inflation. And it is very tough. I remember in my second year, recently when I started the podcast, everything I was earning, studio booking, equipment, software, all the overheads and expenses. And I remember I was making, in fact, in my last few months, I was in a deficit. And I'm just like, even if I do get promoted, which I didn't, but even if I did, and I'm not embarrassed to say I didn't, but even then it's like, how much of a bump is it really? Is it going to move the needle? Not really. Okay. And I know a lot of people who make junior consultant money or even senior con money and are international students who came as international students still rely on family. So the times are very tough in that sense. I don't know what the answer is to this because it's a systemic issue. But
let's talk to our municipal leaders about cost of living in this
which
city.
Is why entrepreneurship is that hit or miss. And that's where there's this argument it's got to be well thought out. And that's why people take those risks in our generation because there's no other way. I asked someone I knew who's done very well, how do you make generational wealth now? And previously the answer was partner, potentially private equity, PE firms, become a partner in a PE firm. You're doing pretty well. Lawyers, right? That's not the case now. For our generation, if I get to your stage at your age, when I get, let's say 20 years from now, or 15, 20 years from now, and let's say salaries have just been adjusted a little bit more, whatever, that is not the same. I can bet you right now, inflation is going to screw me up very bad and I'll be still making ends meet, even though I'm a partner. Yeah. So that's where, and I thought that through and I was like, oh, okay, how do I then, what's the answer? And I spoke to this person who's, took a company public, IPO. They couldn't answer this question that I would have given you lawyers, PE and stuff, but I don't think that's the case anymore. So I was like, what is the case now? What is it now? No answer.
Take a
No
swing.
answer. So I was like,
Right?
I guess it's taking a swing.
Be one of the lucky few,
Yeah.
which is a smaller number than
Very
people
small.
think,
Very small.
who hit it.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like our generation is very lost, hence the reason of this podcast. It's to raise that awareness, get people in who have lived or are going through stuff and trying to understand what could just learn from. If our generation stops learning, which I see a lot of like, whatever, that's when we're going to struggle a lot. So that's why I felt like that's my purpose, at least for now, is to figure that out and go about it.
I love seeing you so passionate and motivated about it, right? It's a cool thing.
It's interesting. But the last thing I want to sort of touch on is AI and like the future of consulting, because McKinsey says that up to 70% of what consultants do can be automated. What's your read on that?
I'm scared. No question, right? The degree to which I'm scared oscillates on a week-by-week basis.
Mm-hmm.
All of the consulting firms are actively using AI capabilities. I think if I was entering the industry, I would be nervous. I do think the pyramid model is going to evolve. How? I don't know. Like, I will say that now I use AI tools to do a lot of the brute force research that I was spending 16 hours a day doing back then. That being said, our team size isn't shrinking. It's growing. The team is spending more time thinking about the client issues, right? We still have to communicate. We still have to synthesize, right? They're hiring us not only for our ability to consume a lot of information, but to add value to that. So I try to think about AI in consulting the way that I think about economic development in Canada, right? If we were continuing to be hewers of timber and then sending it to some other sawmill outside of Canada to process, we'd be in trouble. But we are not a research house. We are a insight house and a problem-solving house. And I do think there'll be a role for us going forward. Then I get into dark modes where I'm like, until somebody loads me up into a bot, and then that bot is better than me.
Yeah.
But maybe it goes back to the starting point, which is that this is a people business, right? And until our clients stop being humans, we need to continue to be humans, and we need to put humans in front of them at all levels. And if everybody stops being humans, well, we've got broader societal issues. Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out. So is it going to change the business? Yes. It already has. Yeah. Is it going to destroy the business? I don't think so. It'll just push us to evolve,
new limits, maybe
adapt. Yeah.
It's funny because I was looking at, I was like, I want to hear people's consensus. So I took to Reddit. So I'm going to read a couple.
Where the people are.
Yeah. Two sides of the coin. All right. The first person says there are three things. All right. Knowledge is only as good as the internal resources who yield it. 2, warm bodies will always be more powerful than ones and zeros. And 3, this person says, clients can't mask their incompetence with digital advice alone. We ain't going anywhere. So this other person says, heck, I'd argue, and this guy's called Jewish Dracula Sydney. The first one was called
Sydney with a Y, like the Sydney or Sydney with an I?
Sidney.
Okay. So not an Aussie, just
no, not an Aussie, no. And the other bloke was, I don't know, it's a bloke, but Plastic Pegasus was the first one. So Jewish Dracula Sydney says, heck, I'd argue it's a more valid field to replace than low-level call center workers. My beef with management consultants is they never have to deal with the outcomes of their recommendations. Any legit business owner can give you tons of examples of where they personally made a bad call and had to work their way out of it while incurring a whole bunch of pain. Management consultants? the business plan just didn't implement our plan. The business just didn't implement our plan properly. Peace out, homies. And then he says, if you just want ideas from cheap seats from admittedly smart people without accountability, AI is the perfect avenue.
My reaction to that last person
Mhm.
would be, you're hiring the wrong people or you're hiring them for the wrong reason, right? We've spent this whole time talking about personal accountability, personal commitment.
Mhm.
My clients' problems are my problems. I seek out clients where we are part of the implementation, where we're riding that out with them. Even if they can't or shouldn't keep me around, I am just as emotionally invested in the outcome, and my teams are.
Gotcha.
As well. If it's a situation where, it's a business case on a shelf and put it away and it doesn't work, shouldn't have been working with consultants in the first place, and should have thought about what led you to that path in the first place.
Interesting. I want to switch the perspective. Do you think we've oversold AI in consulting to clients? Or I guess...
In what sense?
So when I was during my twilight days at KPMG, there was obviously AI was such a big thing within at least the last year that I was there in my 2 years. Everyone was like, AI. And that got me thinking, I'm like, what is AI? And what are we talking about here? Do the people, in terms of all our teams, partners, managers, everyone, do we know what we're talking about really? Or are we just trying to compete with this whole AI trend with other competitors?
I think there are constant waves of new emergent technology and capability that people get fixated on, right? 3 years from now, we weren't talking AI, we were talking the metaverse.
Oh, yeah.
And the metaverse is
where
going
did
to
that go?
I've got a set of Oculus goggles collecting dust at my house because we were going to be metaverse experts. That obviously did not pan out. I don't think AI is quite like that, right? There are real valuable capabilities that allow us to be more efficient. I think, unlike metaverse, consultants and our clients have already figured out the initial applications of AI that do make things faster, easier, more efficient. So I don't think that we are overselling it. A year and a half ago, when we were going to clients saying, we're going to do your AI strategy for you, we've got use cases, that was overselling it because nobody had use cases. Everybody had one colleague somewhere else in the world who had done a thing because it was new. It was first of its kind. Let's say we're a year and a half, 2 years into like real AI in the workforce. I do think that organizations are generating value. I think for some of those consultants are helping them figure out how to do that. I think everyone is still learning on the fly and experimenting. But it certainly plays a role going forward, and that ain't going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting, we can like spend so much time talking about like AI in the workplace and how it's things, but I know it's getting very late. It is 10:15 right now at night. But the last couple of things I was really wondering about, 2 questions. One is, if a 25-year-old consultant watching this feels lost, burnt out, and behind in life, what would you say to them as a mentor, not their partner?
Think about what really motivates you. And then think about how you can get close to that in your place of work. You're not going to get 100% self-actualization all the time. But if you are mostly enjoying what you're doing and you're surrounding yourself with good people, stick it out. If you look around and you're not excited to spend your day next to the person on the left and the person on your right, that's the time for you to really start thinking about your options and then have an open and honest conversation about it.
And you've beaten cancer twice. You're a partner at a Big Four. Doing pretty well. Family's, touch wood, very good. You've built teams and you've raised a beautiful family. If you strip everything away now, how would you define a good life? What is your definition of a good life now?
Being surrounded by people who are happy to be around you, who are looking out for you, who want you to be looking out for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a me thing, right? I get energy from the crowd. So my good life is sustaining the crowd, doing whatever I can for my loved ones to help them be as happy as possible.
And this podcast is obviously called Decoding Wisdom. What's your number one rule of living a wise life?
Find time for chills.
What a way to wrap it up. Dan, I really appreciate you doing this. I know, middle of the week, private equity, consulting, partner, got a lot on your plate, but I really appreciate you making this time. I really wanted to have a chat along these lines when we first spoke. I think this would have been June of 2023 when we first spoke, and I had so many questions. For some reason, I was attracted to your personality and your calmness, which a lot of partners, and I'm going to say it, who I reached out to for a coffee chat, even when I left, we had never spoken. And it was shocking to me. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I've really had fun.
Thanks for having me. This was a great time, and I hope for anybody who sees this or listens to it that it's helpful and interesting and a good use of their time as well.
100%. Well, guys, Daniel Resnick,